Good evening. I think we are live on the Parent Support Network page. If somebody could let me know that, that would be fantastic. Welcome to you if you are on Zoom with us this evening. It is great to have you on Zoom. We've got quite a few people tuning in on Zoom. If you are on the Parent Support Network page, a huge welcome to you there as well. Okay, I hope everybody is ready for an amazing journey with your family, with your community, your workplace, particularly if you are dealing with children. And I want that to be filled with absolute ease, joy, and calm. So let me share my screen. There we go. And if somebody could confirm, please, that we are sharing. Just trying to get the chat up. So if you are on Zoom, you can still interact in the chat box, and I will do my best to be looking at that as well. Thank you, Penny. Thank you, Natasha. Much appreciated. If you are on Facebook, you can definitely be commenting away in the Facebook group. And as a matter of fact, I will really appreciate that because that's where all the good interaction comes in. Can't see the Facebook webinar yet, so sometimes it takes a little bit to come up, Krista. So let's just see if I can see it live. Can you see it live, Andrew?
I believe so. Registration link.
You believe so? Parent Support Network?
No, I can't see it yet.
Okay, it looks like we haven't come up live yet. Okie dokie, I wonder why. It says we're live. I can see it, Marcus says. Okay, let's get moving.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry about all of the toing and froing there. I'm going to start again. A huge, big welcome, everybody. Thank you so much to those of you who are joining us on Zoom this evening. A huge thank you and welcome to those who are joining us on the Facebook page, Parent Support Network. I'll ask everybody if they could please are on Zoom to keep your microphones muted, if that's okay, and cameras muted. And for those people who will be sharing with us this evening, we would love to see your faces when it is your turn to share. So please let me know in the chat box if you're on the Facebook page or if you are on Zoom, a little bit about yourself. So are you a parent? Are you an educator? Are you a practitioner? Maybe you're a combination of those. If you are a parent, perhaps you might like to share the age of your children. So you might say parent 6, 10, and 12, for example. That would be fantastic. So I can get a feel for who is a parent, who is an educator, and who is a practitioner, because we have invited all sorts of people with us here this evening. So let's get started. And a huge congratulations for joining us this evening in this Parenting Masterclass. It is absolutely amazing to have you. I'm absolutely excited and stoked to have you here. And I want to start by really acknowledging you for being here tonight live, if you are live. And if you're catching the replay, I would love to encourage you to also play all in. Even if you're catching the replay, you can still write some comments and so forth in the Facebook group. That would be absolutely fantastic. So just looking to see if we have some comments on Zoom. Andrew, perhaps you can share any comments that are coming through on Facebook as well. Thank you. Okay, so why am I here? Now, for those of you who know me, you know my absolute passion for parenting and relationshiping and helping particularly parents, but also educators, to really connect with their children in a really heartfelt way. So it is my absolute passion to be here, and I want to once again acknowledge you for taking the time to be here with us this evening. So I'm going to be sharing on my own personal and family story, basically so that others can really relate and benefit from that story. The number of times I share my story and people go, oh my gosh, Lily, and I can so relate to your story. I want to also be able to help connect parents, caregivers, educators, and practitioners together for the benefit of all the children. What I'm going to be sharing with you tonight around the Nurtured Heart approach, oh my gosh, it would be absolutely amazing to have everybody who deals with and interacts in relationships with that child to be on board with the Nurtured Heart approach. So I want to share the Nurtured Heart approach with you, which I believe is a true and absolute blessing to everyone who values their relationships, especially those with their children. But as you'll see this evening, it's not just about relationships with your children that you will benefit from here. It's absolutely every single relationship that you have, whether it be your partner, your friends, your work colleagues, your extended family, etc. I want to be able to help you to build inner wealth in you, and for you to be able to help build inner wealth in your children. So you'll get a little bit of an understanding about what inner wealth is as we progress through this evening. I want to be able to help adults and children to be able to build positive portfolios of their strengths, their qualities, and their greatness. And of course, to give parents, educators, and caregivers who might be struggling a little bit some hope. So why are you here? And please do let me know in the chat. So once again, whether you are on Zoom or whether you are on the Facebook page, why are you here? So these might be a few reasons why you might be here. You may feel overwhelmed or exhausted. Hands up if you feel that way. Maybe not all the time, but just sometimes. Some days you may feel more stress than joy in your parenting or your workplace with children. You may want greater connection and relationship with your children and loved ones. Maybe your children aren't being as cooperative as you'd like them to be, or maybe they're not listening as much as you'd like them to. You may feel that you are repeating what you didn't like in your own upbringing. So, for example, if your parents were loud and did a bit of yelling and perhaps used angry tones or did a lot of timeouts or punishments, and you're tending to repeat that, but you're like, oh my gosh, I really don't want to do that. I didn't like it when I was a child, and now here I am generationally repeating that, and that happens so often, right? You may just feel like you're losing your connection with your children, and I actually hear this a lot from families, and particularly as children are getting a little bit older, so the tweens and the teens, parents feel like they're losing their sense of connection and relationship with their children. Or you may just want to do things differently. You might go, okay, I'm not really happy with the way I'm parenting or connecting or relationshiping, and I'd like to learn some new strategies. So you're in the right place this evening if that is also the case. So share with me, please, once again. I'd love for this to be really interactive. It's not just about me talking, but I'd love to see some comments come through. What is your biggest challenge or frustration with your parenting or your relationshiping with children? So whether you're a practitioner, whether you're a childcare educator, a school teacher, or anybody who cares for children, what is your biggest challenge or frustration? And if you imagine, I actually do have a magical parenting wand, but I've just misplaced it. If we had a magical parenting wand, what would you most love us to magically do or solve for you? If we could solve that for you, what would you like that to be? And what action are you going to take? I always believe if you're going to invest time and or money in something, that you want to at least have something that you're going to take action on, even if it's just one little thing, but it also could be a bunch of things as well. Now, we are recording this, so you will have the chance to go through it again, but if you're like me and you like to take a few notes as you go along, please feel free to. And then what will your action steps be moving forward once you've made that decision to change that? So what are we going to cover in this masterclass? We're going to cover our family's journey and why we are so passionate about helping so many families to enjoy happier and healthier children and relationships. I'm going to briefly share how I was introduced to the Nurtured Heart approach. And by the way, please pop in the chat box who prior to me introducing this masterclass did not know about the Nurtured Heart approach. If you did know about the Nurtured Heart approach, I'd love to hear how long you've known about it or anything that you know about it. But if it's fairly new to you, please pop in the chat box that you really, you're just getting to know about the Nurtured Heart approach, you don't really know much yet. Okay, so Natasha says, I'm on Zoom and Facebook and I'm interested in the Nurtured Heart approach for both work and life in general. Penny is sharing, I have two children aged 9 and 13. I would love them to do what I asked the first time. Absolutely. So what is Nurtured Heart approach and how can it help all of your relationships? I'm going to talk about transformation starts with us, because often when we have children who we see as displaying challenging behaviour, we often think it's more about them. But I'm going to share with you tonight that it's a fair bit about us. We need to take responsibility as caregivers and parents as well. So we're going to have some amazing shares from some parents who are working with Nurtured Heart approach in their homes. We are going to, what we can offer you if you want to learn more to strengthen your relationships. And we're also going to hear from some educators and organisations who we are currently partnering with. And of course, we have some prizes to give away as well. So Andrew is going to start writing down your names if you're on the Zoom link. But if you are on Facebook, you'll need to make yourself known so that Andrew can see that you're there, so that you can go into the prize wheel at the end. So say hi, let us know you are on the Facebook page. So for those who do stick around, we've actually got prizes valued to over $3,500. So 2 people will actually get a 50% discount on our Nurture Your Heart to Greatness rolling course. So that prize value is $1,488. We have 2 one-on-one calls with myself, and they're each valued at $197. And we have also 2 digital resource packs of 6 book giveaways. That's the 6 books that I've authored, valued at $90. So please do stick around to the end so that you can see yourself in the draw and be there if you win a prize. So who am I and why should you listen to me? So I can see there are some people who have joined us on Zoom whose names I'm not familiar with. So I'm assuming you may know a little bit about me or you may not know about me, but let me just quickly share about me. I'm a mum of 2 adult sons. My youngest was very challenging as a child and teenager. I'm also a primary school teacher, so I have a degree in Bachelor of Education. I have a special degree that I call TTP, and it's really a pseudo degree, but I love it because it's a degree in tried and tested parenting. So who else on the call has done a fair bit of tried and tested parenting? I think if we are a parent, we've all done that, right? I'm a parenting strategist and coach for over 25 years now. I'm an author of 6 books written between 2003 and 2013. I'm a Nurtured Heart approach advanced trainer, a seminar and workshop facilitator over the years to thousands of people, a parenting specialist on weekly radio. I've been featured on TV in many magazines and newspapers, and more recently a sought after podcast and summit guest all around the world. So I'm going to share with you my story. Now, the reason I'm going to share with you my story, and I'll make it reasonably quick, is because I want you to truly understand why I am so passionate about what I do. I didn't set out to do work in parenting. I am a teacher, but I didn't set out to do work in parenting. My son's journey, or our family's journey, is what has instigated this, and it's something that I'm now very, very passionate about. So I have 2 adult sons in their 30s. Our second son was born 7.5 years after his big brother, Nathan, who was a very quiet and passive child. And let me tell you, it was a very stressful birth. Challenges from birth were very evident from the moment he was born. He was irritable, screaming, unsettled. He didn't sleep. We had an unhappy baby. We had a very unhappy big brother, and we had very stressed parents. Can anybody relate to any of those? So because we are rolling out our courses to childcare centres and early educators, I really wanted to share a little bit about why I'm so passionate about early education, because our son actually went to 5 childcare centres in 2 years. We lived in a large country town and there were 5 childcare centres. So we literally just made it before he had to start school in the last centre. He was diagnosed by pediatricians, psychologists, psychiatrists with childhood depression, ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder, ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, before he even started school. So I'm not going to read all of those, but if you can see those on your screen, this was a typical day for our son in childcare. And I can remember I was a teacher, so I was dropping my son off before school and after school. And I can remember being so embarrassed and so ashamed that I basically felt like I wanted to put a big wide rim hat on and big dark glasses when I went to pick him up, because I felt so ashamed about his behaviours. And sadly, as much as the caregivers really wanted to do their best and wanted to care for him to their best ability, they really struggled, because he really was very challenging. He was very aggressive, he was very defiant, he was very hyperactive, and he was a big challenge for his carers, hence why we had to move from centre to centre. They kind of either politely asked us if we could move on, or we felt compelled to move on because of the negative feedback. But we actually gathered a whole bunch of journals that the childcare centres, like communication books, where they wrote all of these things. And if you can read that short list there, and that was just a few entries, that was like the first half an hour of the day. And every day was just based on the same sort of stuff, all of the negative stuff he was doing. And there was very little communication about what was going well, or what he'd done successfully, or a good quality that they saw in him that day. So after the 5 childcare centres, we enrolled him in a regular school. He looks pretty happy in that photo, but let me say his first year at school was very challenging. Is there anybody else on the call whose children struggle or have struggled in school? So he had a very stressful year. He spent more time in time out than he did learning. And it was really challenging for him. It was challenging for his peers. It was challenging definitely for his teacher. And once again, it was challenging for us as parents as well. Now, we did have some happier days. We found a Steiner school about 40 minutes from our home, and my husband, Andrew, actually became the volunteer bus driver, because we had to bus that, all the kids had to be bussed out there. It was right out in the middle of nowhere. It was on a beautiful biodynamic farm. And he actually had some really good success at that school. Unfortunately, the school closed down during his 5th year there, or during year 5. So he then had to go to another local primary school. And then we then decided to move to Queensland. We just wanted a clean slate. We wanted to sort of get out of that negative vibe of the town that we were living in. So we decided to move to Queensland. He then went to another primary school where sadly he had challenges at. And then we decided to move him again in the following year. So he went from grade 5 to grade 6 to grade 7. So we basically went to three different schools over 3 years. Sadly, the school that we sent him to, the secondary college, which was a private secondary college, an expensive one, I can remember, he had a lot of challenges in, because they were very strict. They were very, had a lot of rules, and they had a lot of discipline sort of stuff in the school, which he just didn't respond to. He was actually asked to leave at the end of first term in year 8. And I can remember feeling so disappointed and sad for him. He actually had a record at that school for the most number of red cards. So they had this like disciplinary system of yellow, green, blue, red, and he had the most number of red cards in the whole school, even the kids who had been there for 6 years. So it wasn't a really good experience for anybody. And then unfortunately the revolt came. And this was the most stressful time in our parenting journey. So if you now have younger children and you're having a few struggles, I don't want to alarm you. I hope you don't have the journey that we had. But when adolescence came, that's when things really got tricky. And if you have a look at the word revolt there, and if you look at the red letters backwards, that spells love. So sometimes kids who are revolting are just looking for a sense of belonging and love. And it's not that My husband and I didn't love our son. We loved him with everything we had, but we were just doing so many things upside down. So in that 2-year period, it really was the toughest time of our journey. He went to 2 secondary schools in 2 years. We had so many non-attendances, or he was suspended for more days than he attended. He had a terrible, terrible reputation with the teachers. We had many calls from the school. He was labelled as a troublemaker. He was mixing in the wrong crowds, getting into inappropriate behaviours, in trouble with the police, and ended up leaving school at age 15 with a very poor school attendance and grades. Now, the universe then stepped in, and it's a bit of a story. If you'd like to read the story, if you haven't already looked at my book, The Revolting Child, A Blessing in Disguise, we do tell that whole story there, and you can download that for free on my website. But we actually connected with a parenting coach called Frank from the States, and it's a beautiful story. Don't really have too much time to share about it today, but he totally changed our lives in such a huge way. Like, we owe him so much. He really did. And that's why I love, getting that sort of feedback as well from people when I help them with their family and their situation. So we were just starting to mentor with Frank when my worst parenting day ever happened. So our yelling, nagging, threats, and upside down parenting led to very challenging and disconnected relationships in our family. And that's why we were seeking so much help from our parenting coach. But there was this one particular day, I'll quickly share this story because I think it's really important to share this, because it really was the start of our journey, our healing journey. So I get another phone call from the school. We used to get them very, very often. Andrew can concur with that, I'm sure. And we got this call after lunch to say that our son had been in yet another challenging situation and that we needed to come up to the school to discuss it. And he was going to be suspended for 20 days. Now, it's already into November and they're wanting to suspend him for 20 days, which made no sense because that wasn't punishment for him. That was great, But anyway, we got this phone call from the school, and I was kind of like waiting at home for him to get home to tell him what I thought about this situation. And he did come home at a reasonably good time. And instead of me saying, hey, son, how was your day? What happened? We got a phone call from the school, but I'd love to hear your perspective on it. Did I do that? No, I did not. I went straight into autopilot, upside down parenting. How could you do this? I'm sick of these phone calls from the school. You're such a disappointment. Why can't you get it right? I felt so ashamed later, but I had this fury building up in me, like you can kind of feel it building up. And then when the child's there, you just want to let it all out. I let out all of this terrible negative stuff, and I feel so ashamed and I feel so sad that I did that to my son. And when I think about it, my son was coming home to a place where he should have felt he had his biggest supporter and fan, not the person who was going to put him down and tear him down. And as a consequence of that, when I did my big rant and said, you're grounded in your room, like he's now 14 and can you imagine he's taller than me? He said, bleep, 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 mum, and use your imagination, I'm out of here. So he left the home. Hours later, we were really worried about him. My husband eventually came home from work. He went out in the car looking for him. There's quite a story in between, but I'll just tell it briefly. And eventually my husband found him in a drunken stupor in the gutter. A little bit like this. That's not actually him, but it's a little bit what he perhaps looked like. And it took him 2 days to sober up. But the beautiful thing that came from that experience was that we actually mentored with our parenting coach. We got on the phone in the States and called him and said, oh my gosh, what do we do? And he shared with us some stuff that was very different to how we would have naturally reacted as parents. And that was really the start of our healing journey, which was really fantastic. So we went from this revolting, defiant, child to a child who was starting to heal, and our family was starting to heal, because it wasn't just about our son and his behaviour, but it was about our family. And I can remember when our parenting coach said, if you have a revolting child in your home, please look in the mirror. I was a bit offended about that when he first said it, but I came to realise that a lot of the challenges that we were having as parents and that parents are still having today was because of the way we reacted to him. Now, children are all different and we react to different children differently. But if you have a more intense and challenging, spirited child in your home, they will seek connection and relationship from you in a different way to the quiet, compliant and cooperative child. And we learned that the hard way because we had one of each. So he started to mend his relationship with his big brother. They are now the best of mates. They work together, they play together, they hang out together, they go camping and holidaying together. They're really, really good friends. And when they were younger, there's no way I could have foreseen that sort of relationship because they were very at loggerheads the whole time. So this is my beautiful family, my husband Andrew and I. This is my revolting child, and I say that with so much love in my heart, and his beautiful partner Amy and my eldest son Nathan. So I'm going to invite Andrew on now just to share briefly his perspective of our journey and where things are at now. Thank you, Andrew.
Computers aren't my forte, sorry. I have, it's actually just listening to that story again, chews my heart out, to be honest. A lot of what Lillian was sharing there, because had we not chosen to be open-minded and take a different path back those years ago, I don't know exactly where we would be right now. Thankfully, we did. Thankfully, we sought advice from somebody that had an outside perspective and an understanding of how devastating our words can be, which we didn't have at the time, I don't think, or I certainly didn't anyway. Caleb and I used to butt heads a lot. As you can see in those photos there that are on the screen, we're best of friends. And I don't even want to consider a world where we hadn't made those choices those years ago to be able to connect on a different level to what most people do, and certainly a different level to what we were at the time. We were doing the best we knew how, but that got a whole lot better. We now Caleb and I have been business partners for coming on for 13 years now. We've never had an argument. We disagree on things because we're both very strong-minded, but he's a very special man, and I am so, so grateful that Lillian found a systematic way. I'm a man. We need just give us a path, give me a formula to follow so that I can just do it. I don't think a lot of us men can handle too many things at once. We just need a path to follow. And that path is so hard to deviate from today, because when something works so incredibly well, it's very hard to stop. Thank you, universe, for providing this at the perfect time for us. Thank you, Lillian.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Really appreciate that. And as Andrew said, they have the most beautiful relationship, and anybody who sees them together or, you know, whose homes they've worked in, they really, really can see and appreciate their beautiful relationship. And I know in my heart that had we not done that work, as Andrew said, we would not have the relationships we now have with our now adult children in their 30s. So we're very, very, very grateful. Okay, so let's get on to how we can help to heal our relationships and connection, not only with our children, but with everybody in our lives, our partners, our work colleagues, our friends, and most importantly, or equally as importantly, ourselves, who feels that they're still carrying some sort of trauma from their own childhood, who feels that they've carried forward that generational way of parenting that they don't feel comfortable with, that they don't want to do, but they just don't know any different. I speak to so many people who are like, my gosh, I'm my mother. Oh my gosh, I'm my father, and we carry forward a lot of generational stuff, sometimes stress and trauma, sometimes just different ways of communicating and relationshiping. I'm so blessed and I'm so grateful. I've been doing parenting work now for well over 25 years, but I've written 6 books, so I know what I'm talking about. I know my stuff. We've had a lot of experience, but I was really looking for something that was a little more systematic, that I could not only utilize myself in my own home, but that I could teach people who needed support and help. So I was very, very fortunate to meet a childhood psychologist in the Gold Coast who was just bringing Nurtured Heart approach into Australia. I then got the opportunity to follow him around for 6 months and learn everything I could. And then when Howard Glasser, the founder of Nurtured Heart Approach, which by the way is over 30 years old now, came out to Australia in 2014 for the first certified intensive training. I was the first one there, right? I was one of the very first qualified trainers. And then in 2021, I did my advanced training. So Howie's actually just sent us a little message, a little hello all the way from Tucson, Arizona.
Hi, Lillian. Hi, my friends in Australia. I am so happy you found your way to the Nurtured Heart approach. You're in the best of hands, and I hope you enjoy the ride. It will be revealing and fun and empowering.
Thank you, Howie.
Be well.
Thank you. He's such a beautiful man, and he has such a big heart for helping to heal relationships all around the world. He is incredible, and I'm so grateful for him. I really, really am. So once again, please pop in the chat box, whether you're on Zoom or on Facebook. Let me know, prior to being introduced to this masterclass, did you know about the Nurtured Heart approach? Or did you only learn about it from me, or did you know about it prior? I'd love to know what knowledge you have about the Nurtured Heart approach. So it originally started, the Nurtured Heart approach was originally to help kids with ADHD, because Howard Glasser actually specialised in ADHD. And but basically it's for transforming the intense child, but helping all children to flourish. So Penny had heard of Nurtured Heart before. Thank you, Penny. So improvement isn't good enough. It only brings about temporary change. What we really want is absolute transformation. We want transformation in our relationships. We want transformation in the way the children respond and react and how we interact in relationship with each other. So, and transformation really does start with us. If you think about it, if we are not in a good place, if we are, challenged with our thinking and our behaviors, if we are, carrying some generational stress or trauma, it's really challenging for us to parent or to look after, whether you're an educator or a practitioner or any sort of caregiver, to really parent our children the way that we should. So when our parenting coach, Frank, told us our issues were not about our son, but about us, and that we had to change the way we looked at ourselves, at our thoughts and our words and actions, we really were like, whoa, okay. And the great thing is that the Nurtured Heart approach allows you to work on you as well. And so many people I work with say, oh my gosh, I came into this thinking it was a parenting course, but it's so much more. For those people who are on the call tonight that have already done some work with me or in one of my current courses, please share in the chat box, particularly on the Facebook page, how has it impacted you as well as your family and children? So in the Nurtured Heart approach, and this is the thing that I love so much about this approach, we aim to build inner wealth and a positive portfolio for our children. So what is inner wealth? to me, inner wealth is a combination of a whole bunch of stuff. So if you look at self-esteem, self-worth, self-respect, self-love, self-appreciation, basically just seeing ourselves as the amazing person we are. And our goal is to build that inner wealth in both ourselves and our children. Who knows a person, a child, or even an adult whose portfolio has some of these things or might be filled with lots of these things? I must deserve to get yelled at. Things work for others, not for me. I'm not understood. I'm broken. I need fixing. I'm unpopular. I have no friends. I'm always in trouble. No one wants to listen to me. I'm not worthy. I'm not happy. I'm sad. I'm not smart. I'm dumb. I'm not good enough. I can't get things right. I hurt, disappoint people. Like, so many of our young people now have all of these feelings of not being good enough. And it's really sad to see that, because we want our children's portfolios to be filled with the things that we want for them. Like, we want them to be kind and loving and thoughtful and resilient. We want their portfolio to be full of, I'm considerate and respectful, and I have great self-control. I can manage my emotions. I make great decisions. I learn from my mistakes. What else is there? I'm happy. I attract great relationships. I follow my dreams. I live in a healthy body and healthy mind. I am good enough. And I have a strong sense of self. And I know what I stand for, and I can say no to what doesn't align for me. I know a lot of parents have concerns as their children get a little bit older, that their children are not going to make the right decisions, or they might get into peer groups that are not a positive influence, or they might start making decisions that are not a positive move. So we want our children's portfolio, by the time they're sort of, teenagers and young adults, to be full of all that positive stuff, so they can stand strong and stand tall and go, you know what, I know who I am. I don't need to follow you. I can make my own decision. I can attract my own amazing things into my life, an amazing job, an amazing partner. That's what we want for our children. Who agrees that's what you would like for your children? So it's not really a task of erasing an old portfolio, but it's to create a new portfolio that's energetically aligned with all of those sorts of things. So we want to confront our children with who they are by using any moment to point out their successes, and every moment we can to point out their successes, and embed what we have to say about a child's greatness into the first-hand experience of the moment. And that's what we teach you to do in the Nurtured Heart approach. So I'm now going to invite Marcus and Simone Douglas. So Marcus and Simone actually joined our course a couple of months ago, so they're getting into it now, and they've got 4 beautiful children, as you can see here. And I'm just going to read out this little quote from Marcus, and then he can share a bit more. He said, "Our world has been turned upside down, and so is our parenting. We are very thankful for finding the Nurtured Heart approach, helping us to become the best parents we can for our 4 little ones." So Marcus, would you like to unmute yourself and just share a little bit more?
Yes, good evening, everyone.
And Simone, hello.
Here's my lovely wife, Simone. Yeah, thanks, Lillian. As you said, it has completely turned our world upside down learning about this new way of parenting. And our family's finding more joy day to day because of this more than ever before. And that is really important to us, to my wife and I. We feel like joy is an important thing to have in your family. You can enjoy each other and the relationships we have. It's also great that we're on the journey together, my wife and I. Feel like we're very much on the same page, and that makes it easier for us. So we've got that support there constantly. I think it'd be hard if we weren't on the same page. The inner wealth concept is life-changing. Something you don't really think of before. Well, we didn't so much. We love to think that we can focus positive energy into building greatness within our children, so they can, build up them qualities that we want to see in them. That's amazing. And we're also finding that we've got a lot more patience with our children.
Fantastic.
I used to get a bit frustrated I don't know if it's a man thing or not, a dad thing, but I used to get quite frustrated at times when the 4 children were mucking up, but we seem to be able to manage that a lot better these days. Yeah, and also we do have an intense child, and we love all our children, but one of them, the oldest, is a bit more intense than the others. She's a big girl, so she's 7, and she's probably more the size of a 10 or 11-year-old, and she's really lapping up the attention when we give her recognitions, to the point where she'll actually stop doing what she's doing in a bad way and stop and then look for recognition, which is pretty cool. Having 4 young children, 7, 6, 4, and 2, when you do give a recognition to one of the children, the other ones want to get in on it. So,
They do.
so that's nice. It's catchy. We've been practicing NHA since April. So yeah, we've and the results are speaking for themselves. And we both believe that we will be practicing NHA within our relationships for the rest of our lives. There's no going back. This is really a new way to relationship. So thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. Well, how beautiful and eloquently you shared that. Marcus and Simone are amazing students. Simone is actually a teacher. She's actually a Montessori teacher, as well as homeschooling her 4 children. So what an amazing family taking this on board. And I love what you said, Marcus, that now that you've taken this on board, you'll never go back. Like, this will be the way you communicate in relationship evermore. Who wants what they've got, right? So just in a couple of months or so, who wants what they've got? How amazing to hear your story, and thank you for sharing. So for those of you who don't know about the Nurtured Heart approach, I'm going to run through it reasonably quickly, keeping in mind that our courses go for months and months and months. So learning the Nurtured Heart approach is really like learning a whole new language. So if you can imagine you're going to be learning, German or French or a whole new language, that's what learning Nurtured Heart approach is. So the core methodology is based on 3 stands. And when we stand for something, that means we're resolute, we're really purposeful, we get clear and precise. You can't take a stand on something if you're wishy-washy. So when we take a stand with this approach, we have to have that resolution and that absolute clarity around what our goal is and what we want to achieve. So stand 1. Now I'm going to run through these pretty quickly, enough hopefully to give you a bit of an idea, but there's a lot of information out there about the approach. You can watch a lot of information on my pages, or join our course to find out and learn more about this. But in a nutshell, stand 1 is I refuse to energize negativity. Now, who agrees that we mostly come to life in our parenting when the kids are mucking up, breaking rules, not listening? That's when we come to life. That's when we give more connection, attention, and relationship. So stand 1 is about not giving that energy, not ignoring it, but just not giving it energy. I will not reward negativity, which are disruptions and outbursts that distract children from their greatness, with elevated energy, connection, or relationship. And I will be intentional to watch where my energy is flowing. So hopefully you all have heard of this saying, and I'm sure you have, where attention goes, energy flows and results show. So that's the same with our parenting and our relationshiping, absolutely. So this is a growing edge for everyone who practices this approach, because we all energize negativity from time to time. Now, some of us are naturally better at it than others at being negative. But shifting this pattern does take practice, and it does take diligence. So there's no mandate when you're learning this to never drop the ball or else, because let me tell you right now, you're going to drop the ball, you're going to fall back into negativity, you're going to leak negativity as you're learning this. But the more you learn it and the more you implement it, you are going to more naturally then not give energy to the negative. So even if you've gone way, way down the bumpy road into badlands of negativity, you can find your way back to this stand in the space of a single breath. So we teach in stand 3, the reset, which I'll talk about in a moment, but you can also just stop and switch your thoughts and choose another way. So I also talk about something called the bop. So where you just breathe, take a few breaths, open your heart. And when you open your heart, you really want to be thinking about, how do I want to feel? How do I want the kids to be behaving? How do I want this interaction to be going down in this moment or in the moments to come? And then just take the time to pause and really feel into the feeling of how you want it to be. Because when you react, when all the negativity is happening, what happens then, guys? Kids are escalated, parents are escalated, kids get more escalated, parents get more escalated, more yelling, more shouting, more disharmony, more frustration, more negativity, and it just grows and grows and grows. We don't get anywhere by focusing on the negative. Stand 2, which is my favorite, is absolutely yes. So now that we've established where we don't want the energy to flow, we need to be able to key into where we do want the energy to flow at even more heightened levels than we have ever before. So stand 2, absolutely yes, is to showing up in big ways when things are going right. So when you hear us talk about the upside down energy and relationshiping and parenting, this is what it's all about, because we're doing it upside down because we're giving all of our energy, connection, and relationship to the things we don't want to grow, right, instead of the things we do want to grow. So stand 2, absolutely yes, is I relentlessly create and energize positivity and success. Yes, we want to do that. I energize and nurture first-hand experience of success. I will work immediately to identify, describe, and express appreciation for steps, even the small steps, small or large steps, tiny baby steps, it doesn't matter, a child takes in manifesting his or her positive choices and intrinsic greatness. And I will actively initiate opportunities for children to be successful. And I'm not saying that we don't do this already, but we only kind of do it mainly in a bit of a junk foodie way. We might do the, yes, good job, well done, thank you, appreciate that. And that's still good, but it's not telling the child or the person, what does that show about you? What quality does that show about you? What quality is that showing about you in this moment? So we have 4 different recognition techniques that we teach in the Nurtured Heart approach, which are the active recognitions, which just are we watch and we describe and we document. So just like if we were taking a photograph, what are we seeing? Kids like to be seen, they like to be noticed, even just for the small things. The experiential recognition, which is my favorite one, is acknowledging. So it's stand first recognition, watching and describing and documenting, but showing an appreciation of that quality. And that's the key, because if we want to build resilience, respectfulness, kindness, thoughtfulness, self-motivating, self-disciplining, all of those things, we need to tell the child that we see that quality in them over and over and over and over again. We don't want to talk about the child talk to them when they're being disrespectful. We want to tell them that they're showing great respect when they are being respectful, or even taking steps closer to being respectful. The third recognition technique is the proactive recognition, which is appreciation of rules not being broken. Now, that didn't make a lot of sense to me initially when I learned this, but it makes a whole lot of sense now, because even the most intense and challenging child cannot be breaking rules 24/7 or, 6 hours out of 6 hours that they're at school or childcare or whatever. They cannot be. We have to be looking for the moments where we can acknowledge them for steps moving closer to making better choices. And then the creative recognition is noticing and appreciating what's happening in the right direction. So even the little steps towards what's happening in the right direction. And the more that we do these recognitions, the more the children's, remember we talked about the portfolio and the self-image and so forth, the more that we're going to build that up. So stand 3, and often people want to get to stand 3, 4. They go, yeah, but what about the rules and consequences? We do have rules and consequences. Sometimes when people come into this, they think it's a tree-hugging, wishy-washy kind of airy-fairy type of thing. But we absolutely do have absolute clarity. And if we don't have clarity in our parenting and in our rules, then the kids are going to be confused. We need clarity. So stand 3 is I set and enforce clear limits and clear consequences in an unenergized way. I will consistently enforce rules and provide immediate consequences each time a rule is broken, by a way of a simple form of consequence called a reset. And I'll talk about that in a moment. I will recognize the child in the moment they have reset and create the next moment as an opportunity for success. So our goal is with stand 3 is to get back to stand 2 as quickly as we can, to recognize and acknowledge them for making steps towards better and more improved behavior. So the reset is the key to consequences and getting back into the positive zone. And if you think about a video game, for example, first of all, think about why kids love video games. Of course, they love them because they're fun, because they have successes and they hang out with their friends, but they love video games because they're clear and predictable. And the consequences are clear and predictable. If they muck up, they go down a level or they get kicked out of the game or whatever happens in the particular game. But the beauty of the video game is that they can reset and get back in the game again. The game doesn't yell, it doesn't nag, it doesn't punish, it doesn't send you to timeout if you muck up. It just goes, okay, you've broken a rule or you've mucked up, there's a consequence, which is you go down a level or you get kicked out of the game or whatever happens. But the beauty is that once you've had that consequence, it's quick, it's easy, it's predictable, you can get back in the game again. And so the same with the way that we approach the reset as our consequence. So Toys R Us, I love how Howard Glasser, we call him Howie, how he actually uses a lot of stories to teach us. So if you think about it, we are our child's most compelling toy. So whether I'm talking about mum or dad predominantly, or educator if they're at school or childcare, for example, we are their most compelling toy, and we have a zillion different ways to be interesting. And if you think about it, what do kids do when they get a new toy? They kind of check it out, they explore it, they want to know what it has to offer. They will hopefully find some, exciting and compelling features, and they might find some features that are boring. And once they designate a feature that's truly boring, they kind of write it off and don't want to go back to it on purpose. And if you think about it, how are we like toys? As adults, if you look at all the different ways that we move and we're physically active and look at all of our emotions, not just happy, glad and sad, but we all have our own unique version of each. We have by far the greatest number of features than any other toy. And our children are really, really clever, and they have the remote control. We are their ultimate entertainment center, and remote control included. So if you combine all of our features, we are the best entertainment for our kids. And our children have experienced, once they've experienced those features, it sets a bar for what's energetically available for us. So when things are going right, our good job and thank you kind of becomes like the boring toy feature in comparison to the blinking lights and bells and whistles that negativity and non-compliance brings out in us. And if you think about it, if you think about the fact that we are boring when things are going right, and our responses to the positive pale in relation to those for the negative, we inadvertently show children they get more from being negative. And if you were to truly be transparent and truthful, if you were to think back to the last 24, 48 hours, when did you give most attention, connection and relationship to your child? When was it when they were behaving, following the rules, doing the right thing? Or perhaps was it when they were mucking up, fighting with their sibling, not listening, not following rules, not getting ready for school, not getting to bed? That's when we come in. We're never too busy, it seems, to come in when things are going wrong, but sometimes we're too busy to take the time to acknowledge when things are going right. We might throw them that little bit of junk food praise, but often we don't take it further, and that's why I love the nurtured heart approach. So what are some of the examples of when your buttons were pushed that made you react really vibrantly? Think about that incident recently that you did come more to life when your kids were mucking up. Did you use any of these sorts of things? And I'm definitely ticking all these boxes: threatening, punishing, reprimanding, nagging, lecturing, yelling. that's when we're radiating the most energy. And kids get to learn, and they're so smart, right? They get to learn this really young, that they get more from us, more connection, more relationship, and they interpret that sometimes as more love when they muck up. Mum and dad or teacher or favorite toy is not often available for me when I'm behaving, when I'm being cooperative, when I'm quiet, when I'm reading a book or playing nicely with my sibling. But as soon as I muck up or break a rule or do something inappropriate, they come to life. So they start to realize that, wow, that's how I get not just attention, it's really more about connection and relationship, because that's, kids are constantly seeking connection and relationship, and we teach them inadvertently how to get that mostly. So if you think about it, I've actually got my watering can here. It's like watering the garden. Would we give water with beautiful, rich nutrients in it and fertilizer to growing the weeds or the flowers and plants we want to grow? Would we go out into the garden and purposefully water the weeds? Probably not. It wouldn't make much sense, would it? Or would we go out into the garden and pour our beautiful nutrient-rich water onto the flowers, the plants, the veggie patch, the herb garden? That's the stuff we want to grow, so that's the stuff we want to water. So upside down energy. So if the toy is more animated, compelling and alive and energized when things are going wrong, then that does get transmitted by a lot of kids and translated energetically to feeling more loved, more valued and more celebrated in relation to problems. Mum and dad can say they love good behavior all day long, but the truth of the energy that the child feels within themselves of being loved and connected is more when things are going wrong, because that's when mum and dad show up. They're barely there. This is them thinking, either they're thinking this or they're subconsciously thinking this, that they're barely there. They barely show up when I'm doing the right thing. I get this sort of junk food thrown at me. Good job, well done, thank you. But they're barely there when I do the right thing to acknowledge and recognize me. So with that, I'm going to invite Penny on to share. And I know Penny has shared with us before that she certainly has done her share of upside down parenting prior to finding out about an nurtured heart approach. So Penny is a mental health nurse and a parent of two amazing children, 9 and 13. I won't read any of that, Penny. I'll let you just share with us this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lillian. Hello, everyone. Yes, that's very true. I thought as a mental health nurse that I really understood how to reinforce positive behaviours that I wanted to see in my two children. So I have a 9-year-old boy and a 13-year-old girl. So my 13-year-old has always been very compliant, great at school, always wanting to help out, no problems at all. And our son has been very, very different to that. He's very, very intense. He's got a lot of energy and he wants to be busy all of the time. And I guess what we found was that the parenting approach we had with our daughter just didn't work with Sam at all. And it was really, really difficult to just live this busy life that we have as two working parents, without any support here in Australia. Really, we're doing it on our own. So it became a very stressful environment, and we were probably doing a lot of yelling as well, and really kind of getting frustrated with, why won't he just do what we tell him to do the first time immediately, straight away? Tia would just get on and do the stuff that she needed to do. But the analogy that I used, I think, with Lillian was like, with Sam, it was like pouring petrol on a bonfire. As soon as we started to yell, as soon as we started to energize the negative things that he was doing, rather than focusing on watering the plants and not the weeds, it was like pouring petrol on a bonfire, and very, very difficult to sort of come back from that. Then you'd end up with a horrible scenario where he'd gone from just really not wanting to do something and making a lot of noise about it to really having a full-on meltdown and throwing things and being very, very challenging in many ways. So the nurtured heart approach has really forced me to look at how I respond when I'm faced with that. And I didn't go looking for it actually for our family. I went looking for this in my work, and I'd heard a little bit about it already. And I kind of thought, well, no, I understand what the principles are, you know, but I really didn't until I actually did the course myself a few years ago. Just staying calm, just not energizing the negative behaviors, not watering those weeds, and being able to just not give energy to the things that don't want to grow, but really come in with all the positive stuff. As soon as we see that positive stuff, it's made such a difference to him. And I'll give an example of that. You know, at some point he said to me when he was really quite small, everybody hates me, I'm a really naughty boy, I always do the wrong thing. And I can just remember, you know, my heart breaking for him, thinking, gosh, this is awful. He's actually a lovely boy. You know, he can be very, very kind and generous, and he's very sensitive. And now he refers to himself as being, you know, a generous and kind of fun, kind and smart kid. He's doing very well in his gymnastics at the moment. He's doing much better at school, and the teachers at school have actually asked us, what is it that you do at home? How do you get him to sort of like sit down, concentrate, all that kind of thing? Because he's a very, very intense kid. He doesn't sit still. He doesn't particularly want to concentrate on anything he doesn't want to do. And they have just adopted the absolutely yes part. So as soon as he's doing the things that they want to see, they come in with all these recognitions and describe what they see to him. And he's learning this inner narrative of, oh yeah, no, I can be cooperative, and oh yeah, I can be respectful. And this has really turned this stuff around. He doesn't have that outlook now on himself that was really negative. He's a confident boy who, you know, seems to kind of have some respect for himself as well. So I think we were on a trajectory that could have been really bad, actually. When I look back on it now and think about it, if we'd have stayed on that route, I think things could have been really, really difficult for Sam. And the added benefits as well, I guess, which has been a bit of a side effect, is that now we have a 13-year-old daughter who's about to turn 14. And that transition from being a young child to being a teenager has brought all sorts of other challenges. And this tool has been immensely helpful in helping us navigate some really difficult things for her as well, and really focusing on the positive, even when things have been very, very negative, actually, have really helped to mend a relationship with her that had become quite worn down. For a long time, all our attention had been on Sam. But it's really allowed us to really come in there and really build her up with a sense of, you know, all my positive qualities. And she said to me the other day, Mommy, you know what I'm grateful for? We were in the car driving to school, and I was sort of sat there thinking, okay, this is different. And she said, you know, I'm so grateful for where we live. I'm so grateful for this view that we see in front of us, Surfers Paradise, as we're driving down the hill to go to school. I'm so grateful for the family that we have around us and being able to live where we do, and to be able to live in a country where there is no war, there's peace, and we can go into a shop and buy food, and, you know, we don't have to think about that. And this is a 13-year-old saying this to me. And she's really started to sort of, I don't know, I guess, see the things that she's grateful for. And that's something that we have been trying to grow in her, is kind of gratitude for the things that she has. And that's really sort of landed. And just sort of thinking about the choices that she makes as well, and how that aligns with her values and who she is as a person. So being able to step out of the kind of like, we're really disappointed in you, why on earth would you make this decision? And actually kind of not energize any of that stuff, but actually really come in with, you know, when she has done something that's even just slightly towards the goal that we want to reach, just really, really acknowledging that. And wow, didn't you do a great job? Wasn't that a mature decision that you made? You could see all these things your friends were doing. You knew that it wasn't going to fit well with your goals and with your values, and you decided to make a really difficult stand against that. and not go along with the crowd and do that. You know, that's really mature. You know, that shows me very respectful behaviour of us and also of yourself. It's made a big difference to be able to navigate these teenage years, which, yeah, I have found really challenging so far. But you know what? We've got a much better relationship for it. And I've got a really good relationship with both of my children at the moment. Also, by the way, I am married. So my husband works full time, and although he's not done the course, he has been picking up bits and pieces, watching myself and the children. So in actual fact, while we've been on here, I heard as they were coming in, someone was having a little bit of a meltdown over being told no about something. And I heard him staying very calm, very clear, and eventually it just stopped. And it, you know, it was very short-lived, and it's completely quiet now. And I know sort of years and years ago, that could have escalated and been pretty nasty. So yeah, thank you, Lillian. I really appreciate all of the techniques and all of the support. And I really love being able to come into the fortnightly support group, because that keeps me accountable to this. To me, that's very important, because without that, I could easily fall off, you know, and go back to the old ways, which is how I was parented, you know, like that's what my parents did with me. And okay, like arguably I'm all right, but you know, for our family, that approach was just not working. And I think when we're really, really busy, the life that we all live now in 2023, it's so busy, we have less time to really kind of be connected. So in those moments that we do have, if we're focusing on the positive instead of really berating kids for the stuff that we see that's gone wrong, then we're going to have much better relationships. So yeah, I thank you for that very much.
Oh my gosh, Penny, I think you can do the next masterclass. That was amazing. Thank you. And what I love in Penny is hearing how fluently she uses the stand to recognitions now. Like, they're just so beautiful and fluent and genuine and heartfelt, and they're obviously being heard by her children, which is fantastic. So Penny's actually doing this course for the second time. So she's become a really A++ student, you know, like she's really embracing this, and the best thing is she's getting the results. So thank you so much, Penny. I appreciate you sharing so beautifully and eloquently about the success you're having. Thank you. So who, like Penny, would love to enjoy a happier and healthier home and loving, connected relationships with their children? As Penny said, and as Marcus and Simone said, things could have been very different and gone very different had they not been implementing the nurtured heart approach. So if you are sick and tired of yelling, nagging and threats, if you crave a closer, more respectful relationship with your children, if you want to gain cooperation with children rather than control, if you want your children to be both happy and healthy today and growing into their adult years, if you want to enjoy your day-to-day interactions with your children, if you just want your kids to listen and follow simple instructions, and that's what some people say, that's what I want. If you want to know that when your kids grow up and get married and have kids, that you'll be super connected to them, then you will really want to come and join us in our Nurture Your Heart to Greatness course, because we will help you to achieve all of those goals. So we've got a couple more people who are going to be sharing with us, but I just want to let you know, for those of you who are still on and who are sticking around, we are to the end, which is not too far away. You will go into the draw for one of 6 prizes. So we've got 2 50% discount vouchers for the Nurture Your Heart to Greatness rolling course, 2 one-on-one calls with myself, and 2 digital resource packs of 6 books. So please do stick around and be ready for that draw. So my why is so huge. Like the relation, as Penny just said, you can't even put into words how amazing it is to have the relationships that you have now, knowing where things could have gone. And in my heart, I absolutely know that had we not taken this path, had we continued on where we were at before we met our parenting coach and before we found out about Nurtured Heart approach, things definitely would not be where they would be. I now have I feel like the most lucky mum in the whole world. I have two beautiful, amazing adult sons who treasure their mum, who look after me, who love me unconditionally, who support and encourage me just like I do them, who use the nurtured heart on me, who congratulate and acknowledge me for the things that I'm doing. It's such a beautiful way to interact and connect, not just with your children when they're younger, but when they're adults as well. So imagine those of you who are using this now with your children. Imagine Marcus and Simone with their 4 young children in 10, 15 years' time, the beautiful, amazing, connected relationships they're going to have. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So I'm going to now ask Travis to join us. So Travis, I met, jeepers, how did we initially meet? I met with one of Travis's colleagues and I did a talk for them about a year ago. And then I was invited to do another live talk a little while ago, earlier this year. And Travis was sitting in the audience. I wasn't really sure who he was, but he was actually the owner of the company and the business. Travis is the clinical director of Allied Health Services Australia and Paediatric Centre Gold Coast. He's also a senior physiotherapist. He's a lecturer. He does a whole bunch of stuff. He's an amazing man. He also, I've come to know, has a beautiful, huge heart for helping families. So their organisation actually support families within the NDIS framework. And I love what Travis said. I actually decided to put this on the slide, Travis. He wrote in one of our emails, together we are helping parents help their children by being their best parental versions, despite any health or disability related barrier their children may be enduring. What a beautiful thought that is, and what a beautiful goal that is. So Travis, please let us know a little bit about Allied Health Service Australia and why you and your organisation have chosen to partner with the Nurtured Heart approach and myself.
My apologies. I'm just trying to come up on the screen there. Can everybody see me? I'm not sure.
We can see you now, yes.
And fantastic. All right. Well, look, thank you for the introduction, Lillian. What do I do apart from what's on the screen? Well, first and foremost, I'm a proud father who strives to nurture and grow my children toward their greatest potential. Those who know me on a closer level probably consider me quite a hands-on father. To the extent last week, it was my son Carter, who's currently on school holidays. He goes back tomorrow, but he's been enjoying his little CRF50 of late, which is a little motorbike like a peewee, as we may know. And there was a coaching camp of motocross out towards Boonaway. There's an amazing venue out there called QMP. So instead of being the parent on the sideline, as I usually am, watching from a distance, there was an opportunity to partake in the 3-day coaching camp. And so I, for the first time at the age of 42, jumped on a motocross bike. And to my great surprise, by day 2, I was popping monos and hanging the bike sideways, as they say, around the motocross track. So if I wasn't hands-on before that, I certainly am now. But and got quite hooked on the experience too. So who knows where the future holds with my motorbike riding. But ultimately, my children are undoubtedly my greatest achievement, and I'm sure that's the same for most people. They are our greatest gift, and yet, unlike so many other important things in our life, we don't get a user manual to see how to operate these young cherubs, do we? It's very much trial and error. My role, other than as a parent, consists of being a clinical director for a very long-established allied health organisation on the Gold Coast, and we have quite an experienced multidisciplinary team. As part of that role, I'm required to manage and mentor quite a number of other clinical health professionals, so that in turn they can have a positive impact on their patients. Paediatrics is an area where we operate quite extensively, and often providing quite a variety of clinical care for many children who experience both physical and cognitive disability. So as clinicians, we require in our consultations behavioural management, and parenting strategy, because it would be nice to have a one-size-fits-all approach, but of course very rarely is that a possibility. Regardless of the disability at hand with these children, a standardized approach does help in terms of making sure what is achieved within that consultation can be carried across into the home, which ultimately empowers the mums and dads to not just observe what's happened within the consultation, but also be able to then implement that at home, particularly when you've got young children with the likes of autism and ADHD, who do require extra attention, extra care when communicating. So we've taken it a step further. It was really nice that we met Lillian not that long ago, because we've fallen in love with the Nurtured Heart approach, because we do see the potential for that to be adopted throughout the entire organisation, and all the clinicians are very keen to be educated with the Nurtured Heart approach. The wonderful approach that we're going to take is basically, whilst parents, instead of being parents on the sideline, much like I was at many days out on the motocross track with my son, like I jumped in and had a go, we're encouraging the parents, whilst they're watching their children enjoy their consultation with their clinical therapist, that instead of just watching and observing, but that actually sit on the sideline and use that opportunity, use that hour of therapy time to better themselves and improve their parenting skills by adopting and working through the program of the Nurtured Heart approach during that time. So ultimately, they don't need to put aside extra time in their week, but rather utilise the time that they do have, instead of observing their children's therapy, rather use that time to the best advantage, which is quite exciting. The other important and obvious use of the Nurtured Heart approach will be with our younger team members who they may be great clinicians, but they don't have children themselves. And as a result, we know there's a big difference between those who have children and have experienced all the trials and tribulations and all the behaviours that go with children, and those that haven't had children. So with those younger clinicians who haven't experienced the joy of having children yet, I think having this Nurtured Heart approach will equip them better to be able to manage their patients, their younger patients, and also give genuine feedback and genuine assistance to the parents, so they can carry that approach home with the parents, and the parents again have that ability to continue whatever it was that they were trying to achieve within the consultation. So that's quite exciting for us to be able to do that and have a standardised approach across the practice that we all understand and we're all achieving similar goals. And during meetings we can talk about how great the Nurtured Heart approach was with a particular child, and how that did carry home with the parents, and the parents were kicking goals with it as well. So that's quite exciting. Really does one approach ever fit the vast majority? And however, it appears in this particular case, the Nurtured Heart approach does tend to achieve that outcome more often than not. We at Allied Health Services Australia have embraced this program and value its offering. Consequently, as I said, our team have decided to adopt the program throughout the organisation, and it'll be really interesting over the next 12 months to reflect upon the program and get some feedback from the parents and see how they've seen a difference, within our organisation, our approach versus maybe others that they've encountered along the way of their children's therapy. Our goal is ultimately to facilitate more opportunity for therapy success more often throughout the week. So rather than it's just being my child is going to therapy and the therapist does all the work, we really want to be able to, as I said, extend that therapy approach to the home. And that's where most parents really, really struggle to be able to replicate and model what was done within those clinical consultations into the home, where ultimately that's where most time is spent and that's where the opportunities exist. So it's exciting for us to see how the next 12 months eventuate with this program. And I know there's a lot of enthusiasm amongst the team to see where it ends up. Having personally explored and researched many alternative parenting programs over the last few years myself, it's definitely this particular program that I've come to settle with, and looking forward to becoming a master of, hopefully in the period that will follow, and be able to reflect on some of the great experiences I've had with my children using this nurtured heart approach. So thanks for your time tonight, Lillian, and we're excited to move forward with your program. Let's start the training.
Awesome, Travis. How very exciting. Thank you so much. I love the passion, coming out of the people who are sharing this evening. And Travis, I'm super excited to be able to positively impact your practitioners, to help them positively impact the families that they're working with. I think it's going to be win, 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 win for so many people. So thank you so much. And of course, if anybody is on the Gold Coast who requires any assistance with NDIS, definitely Allied Health Services is the place to go. So thank you again, Travis, for that beautiful share. And I love your story about the motorbikes as well. That's awesome. Okay, especially the wheelies bit. Okay, so Janie Wills was going to be with us this evening, but she hasn't made it. So I'll just share a little bit. So I connected with Janie. She is a director of a childcare centre in North Pimpama on the Gold Coast. It's a huge, quite a large franchise, Edge Early Learning. And we've had quite a few conversations over the last few months, and Janie has decided, we've been into the centre and done some live trainings for her staff, her team, and they have now decided to take the Nurtured Heart approach on, and we're going to do it as a pilot program. So we're actually starting that in about a week's time, and we're super excited. So we're going to be rolling it out firstly for the educators, and like Travis said, educating the educators first, and then we're going to roll it out to the families, because my ultimate goal is that when we have families and parents and caregivers back to back, especially with educators in early education and primary school and high school, and also with the likes of Travis's organisation as well, with practitioners, just imagine the beautiful love and nurturing that those children are going to get if they're getting it from home, if they're getting it from daycare or childcare, if they're getting it from school, if they're getting it with their practitioners. Just imagine the beautiful inner wealth that those children will be able to experience, and the portfolio that we're going to be building for them is so exciting. We get great results when it's just done at home or it's just done at school, but when we come back to back, oh my gosh, the results are going to be amazing. So Janie, I'm super excited to get started with your centre, and then we're going to be rolling this out. We've already got some other childcare centres who are interested. So if you are on this evening, if you are representing a childcare centre, if you work in a childcare centre, or you're a director, or you're a family, please do reach out to have a chat. I can share with you a little bit more about the pilot program. We also have some special things happening for families of these childcare centres and schools that are getting involved. So please do reach out for that chat. We also have just recently introduced bigger Thomas More Montessori School and Simone. You heard from Marcus and Simone earlier. Simone has been a teacher at this school, and she actually talked to the principal, Donna, about the Nurtured Heart approach a little while ago. Donna and I have had a couple of conversations. She has bought the program. They're starting to implement it already. We've got some trainings planned. It's really, really exciting. So I'll just read Donna's testimonial here. Recently, through one of our parents, that was Simone, we have been introduced to the Nurtured Heart approach, which is a perfect next step for our staff, students, and hopefully many of our parents. The Nurtured Heart approach has assisted many schools and educators and has empowered their students to achieve their own greatness. The staff at our school have commenced training in the Nurtured Heart approach, and I hope that our whole school community will want to learn and train in this method, which can be used in all of our relationships, not only with our children, but also each other. And Donna is actually a very wise lady. She's been an educator for many years, and I love what she wrote, and I put that in the strip down the bottom there. She said, we can perpetuate upside down thinking by viewing ourselves, our children and each other through a lens of imperfection, which can result in our reinforcing with our energy the negatives rather than focusing on and bringing out the greatness within our children, ourselves and each other. So how perceptive is that? And she's obviously already taking on nurtured heart terminology there, which is fantastic to hear. So if you're listening in tonight live, or if you are tuning into the replay, we do have an amazing super early bird special. So our Nurture Your Heart to Greatness rolling course is regularly per family, $2,977. And that basically at this stage is going to give you lifetime access. So you can read all of the criteria there, but basically you'll get access to the whole rolling course, which is based on a 24-week live course that we did. You'll have access to all of the recordings, not only of the 24-week course, but of the fortnightly live discussion interaction calls that we have as well. So they happen ongoing. So when you join, you can self-pace, you can learn the content in your own time, in your own space. And then we encourage you every fortnight on a Thursday evening to jump on. That's what Penny was talking about when she said that she gets so much from the discussion and interaction call. So basically you are getting one-on-one or small group mentoring through that fortnightly call. And you can ask any question you want. You can share your wins and successes. You can listen to other parents, and actually it becomes a community where the parents and the families all get to know each other and support and encourage each other. So you get all of the content, you get lifetime access. So basically, if you want to stick with the course for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, for as long as I'm doing this, and I hope that to be many, many years, you'll be able to continue on and learn and refresh, and you might have a break and then come back again. So you've got lifetime access to those calls. You've got the recordings that you can go through at your own pace, new recordings that will be uploaded every couple of weeks. You get the book that Howard Glasser wrote, Transforming the Intense Child Workbook, which you follow along each session. You get a 60-page workbook. You get a one-on-one with two one-on-one personalized sessions with myself throughout the course. You get a one-on-one personal consultation with naturopath Nathan. So much value in this course. So it's $2,977 per family for lifetime. And the Super Early Bird Special this evening is a lovely discount of $700, which brings the upfront cost to just $2,277. And I've even thrown in another love bomb. So if you have a friend who you would like to partner with and learn with and mentor with and talk to and share stuff with, you can actually invite your friend to join for free. Just in this early bird special, just in this first 72 hours, so 3 days. Or you can say to your friend, hey, the early bird price is $2,277. If we make a decision in the next 3 days, we can split this and only pay half, which is $1,138 each. So that is amazing value if you can find a friend to split the cost with. We have an early bird payment plan, which you can see there. I won't read out the numbers. And then, of course, there's the after early bird plan if you do not make a decision in the first 72 hours. So if you would like to talk about what's involved, or if you've got questions, or you're not quite sure yet, you'd like to have a conversation with me, I'm happy to have a 30-minute conversation with you, or whatever it takes to discuss that. Please do connect with me at lillian@parentsupportnetwork.com.au on email, or I'm very easy to find on Facebook as well as Lillian Reiki Parenting Strategist. So as we come to a close now, just before we do the prize draw, I just wanted to really share with you my absolute why. I have now, as I've said before, 2 beautiful, amazing sons in their 30s. And my youngest son has just turned 30. And he has the biggest heart. And I love to tell this story. If you've heard it before, my apologies. I tell this story over and over and over again because it is so impacting. So when I was doing some book launches with my Revolting Child book, and you must read that to understand the title. we were invited to do a couple of book launches. So on the second book launch, they actually said, would your son be prepared to come along? And he just turned 16, and quite transparently, he wasn't super keen to come along, but he said he would, just to support us, because he knew how, passionate we were about this and wanting to help other families. So Andrew and I did a talk. We talked about our journey. We talked about this book. And at the end, we had a Q&A. And one gentleman put his hand up, like people were asking Andrew and I questions, but this gentleman put his hand up and said, can I ask your son a question? And I kind of looked across the room at him and looked at him, and he kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, yeah, I guess so. He stood up tentatively, and I can almost still visualize it, like that's 14, 15 years ago now. So the man actually said something so simple, but so very profound. He said, Caleb, what was it that took you from where you were just 10 months ago? So 10 months prior, he got kicked out of school. He was in trouble with the police, doing things he shouldn't have been doing, taking things he shouldn't have been taking, hanging out with people he shouldn't have been hanging out with, getting in all sorts of strife. Use your imagination. And 10 months later, we had really progressed really well in our healing journey. Things weren't perfect. I don't think they ever are perfect, but things were so much better. Our relationships were so much better. So we asked this question, what was it that took you from there to here? And my ears were like, oh my gosh, what a good question, right? And I could see his mind tick over for just a couple of seconds. And I was holding my breath. I was so keen to hear the answer. And he actually said something so profound. It really has affected me in such a positive way. He said, when I saw the effort that my mum and dad were going to, or are going to be the best parents they can be, I just want to be the best son. So let that sink in. Our kids are watching. They're seeing the efforts we're making. We heard that from Penny. We heard that from Marcus and Simone. Our kids are watching us, and when they see the effort we're going to, even sometimes, especially if they're the young teens or the preteens or the older kids, they might go, oh, what's this, rubbish, what's this stuff? But you know what? And I also remember my son telling me as an adult, Mum, when you used to tell me all that positive stuff, and I'd either kind of, roll my eyes or ignore you, or maybe say something nasty or negative to you initially. He said, you know what, Mum, but I really loved it, and I'm really grateful. And that's what makes this all worth it. So that's it from me. Thank you so very much, everybody. I appreciate you jumping on. I appreciate your commitment to staying for the full 90 minutes. We've done pretty well. I think we've gone exactly 90 minutes. Thank you so much to all of the people who shared this evening. I appreciate you, and I look forward to having some conversations with the rest of you.